8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Welcome to Rocket Pants Episode 8. I will be your host, Alex, and joining me this time, once again, for our Mode A is John and Chris. What say you guys?
Hello, guys. I'm Jonathan Hallee, and I really need to shave.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Chris Swartz, and I also need to shave, and I don't have an appendix anymore, so that's a thing that happened.
Cool. So, speaking of appendices, what game have you been playing, or games?
Yeah, it's actually been a little while since we've all gotten together, so there's been so much, and the fact that I missed quite a bit of work, because I was out, I had appendicitis, so I had to have emergency surgery, and I was out for, a week or so, and so I was able to play a lot of video games. And I did spend the majority of my time playing the amazing Bioshock Infinite, and that's totally awesome, and if anybody likes it, then you should totally have a conversation with me on Twitter later about it.
What is your Twitter handle?
I'm at Chris A. Swartz, but I'll say that again at the end. But, so that wasn't the only thing that I played, though. I also went back to some, one of my Android cell phone broke because I happened to have the worst luck with Android phones. And while I was waiting for my replacement Android, I went back to my Windows phone where I happened to have Monument Valley installed. So I played some Monument Valley on mobile on Windows phone, and it is so good. I played it, nonstop many months ago, and it was probably one of the greatest mobile games that I have, ever played. And it would even stand on its own in the non-mobile category. So it's like a puzzle game. You control this little tiny, girl, and you just walk around and you try to solve these puzzles, and there's little crows that block your way, and there's really good music and sound effects, and the art style is amazing. It looks a lot like an MC Escher, painting or drawing, and you'll end up walking upside down, and you have to kind of pivot the platforms and the area where you're standing, and it's got this amazing kind of low poly, very high res, pretty bright, color scheme, and it's just so good. So, have you guys played Monument Valley?
I did. Even all the settings and the story, and because there's basically no story.
Yeah, it doesn't follow an actual story. It has some consistent elements throughout the game, but that's one thing I like about it, is it's a little mysterious. It doesn't ever come out and say what it is you're trying to accomplish, but you can definitely tell that you're moving forward, to an end, so.
And it does the portal thing where you get attached to something that you probably shouldn't get attached to.
Yeah.
I don't know if you felt that way.
I totally did. As soon as I beat it, I immediately went and downloaded the DLC. Did you get the DLC? Yeah.
Yeah.
DLC is so good. And then there was additional stuff. There was, and I don't know if you got this one. I think when we talked about it last offline, you hadn't. But before you even have to buy the DLC, there's 4 extra levels. And it's like you're in the dream of the character you're playing, and you're in a big farmhouse. And there's gears and cogs and stuff you have to move around in this farmhouse. And you go into different rooms and you're completing these extra puzzles. But it's just so good and so well done and well put together, and it's pretty cheap. It's I think it was $2 when I got it on Windows Phone, and there's nothing good on the Windows App Store, so this was a real good find. I think it's on everything. It's on Android and iOS too, and I obviously like to game, and I couldn't find anything else to play on Windows Phone, so I'm happy I stumbled across this.
Have you played it, Alex?
I'm not sure if I've heard of it. I might have heard you guys talking about it, but I know I haven't played it for sure.
I think it has a pretty good reputation among mobile games.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've read on the wiki that the company that produced the game just asked the developers, don't give yourself limits, just make a good game, however long it takes. And
and you can tell it shows.
They did a fantastic job, and it's really in the feeling. It kind of reminds me of but it's kind of a mix of Child of Light and Fez.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's where my mind goes. It's a really, really good indie game.
It kind of reminded me a little bit of back on the PS2. What's it? Ico, like in Ico and Shadow of the Colossus and stuff like that, where it's just like you're this one person. You're kind of on your own in this giant like kingdom. And it's just kind of, it's almost a little eerie, but it's not scary at all. It's definitely not scary, but you feel that kind of eeriness and loneliness a little bit, which is kind of fun. It's interesting. It's really good.
Cool.
Yeah, so what about you, John? What have you been playing, sir?
I have been on the, since last time we were with Carol and we mentioned that I might be trying to do a Rocket Pants dating sim. So I have delved in the world of visual novels. And do you guys have any experience with visual novels? Apart from the game we're going to talk about after the break, which I consider one.
Spoilers.
I played, I don't know, no, that's like a text, so visual novels and text adventures are different, right? Like I've played Zork. I mean, is Zork a visual novel, or is it different?
Maybe it is. Maybe it is.
I've played the old read-along CD-ROM books, like the Tortoise and the Hare, where it would read the story at the bottom, and it would animate it at the top. That's probably the closest thing I've played.
Yeah.
Did you read like the Goosebumps novel of Choose Your Own Adventures?
Yeah, I did. I did the actual book, the Choose Your Own Adventures. I did those all the time. Those were great.
That's not what visual novels are, from what I understand. They're mostly dating sims, and I had some experience before, and huge revelation in my pervert teen years, probably. I did play one, so I'm gonna spare you what kind of visual novel it might have been. I can tell you that what I've tried is pretty close to that, and I played the game, it's called Roommates on Steam, and I got these off the visual novel bundle, I think. Okay. A Dumbo bundle. So basically, you're either a rocky, not a rocky, but a rocker guy that doesn't care about school, or a really shy girl that gets into a weird house in college, and you have a couple of roommates, and your goal is to date one of them, which I failed on both campaigns. So I know I've been out of the dating scene for like 12 years or so, but anyways, it's basically, even in this game, you had like objectives of skills you had to improve, like strength and stuff like that, to satisfy these people. They were pretty much stereotypes, most of them. I'm not gonna say I didn't enjoy it. It's kind of somewhat enjoyable. The dialogues aren't too corny. They're pretty corny, but they aren't too corny. And I'm gonna give them props for not just pushing straight relationships.
Yeah.
I think there's in the house there's a guy. The two protagonists, it's basically a choice, and there are two bisexual people in the house, so that gives a lot more outcomes. But it's basically stereotypes, and to get to know the stereotypes better, once you get to know them, you've got the obvious anti-stereotype. Yeah. The girl is a party girl, but she's not party in the bed kind of girl. So it's kind of semi-obvious. And the other one I played is Sakura Spirit, which is somehow well rated on Steam for some reason. I've actually heard
of that one. Yeah.
Okay. You fall into a magical world with girls that don't have much clothes, and girls with fox ears that don't have much clothes. And you follow a story that doesn't make sense, and you make a single choice one time. That's it.
That's the whole thing.
That's the whole thing. You get to make a single choice.
Huh. So are these, I mean, there's no actual, you're just choosing text options. You're not playing like mini games or doing any sort of like traditional gaming, like platforming or anything like that, right?
No, I think some of them do. Because basically, you mostly... I mean, I'm going to follow the roommates thing, because I think it sounds more like most visual novels.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of sounds like Persona a bit, except without the gameplay. And you pretty much... You have your whole week, and you schedule your things, like go to class in the morning or sleep in. Just to keep your energy high, so you have to sleep and take naps a couple of times. You have to work to make money, and you can use that money to go to some events that raise some kind of stats. Okay. And the stats will manage to get you closer to someone. The thing about roommates is that the special events never use the money. So you work, you collect money, but the money only serves to get some other stats higher. And every once or twice in a week, there's an event that happens. And then you meet people, something special happens, and you get some dialogue choices to up your relationship points.
I think the closest that I might have played, and it did have more traditional gaming aspects too, but it was Catherine on the 360.
Yeah.
And Catherine, I think, probably had some of those visual novel maybe influences, but it was very heavy on, making these choices and stuff like that. But at the same time, you would also go into this weird dream world and like fight monsters and stuff. So,
and it's basically, like I said, Persona kind of looks like that, because you do develop a relationship with people, but these relationships have like battle stats associated to them.
Yeah.
So it kind of feels like that, but it's really just a visual novel part.
Okay.
And I'm guessing some of them can be enjoyable. To be honest, I chose like the two I pretty much convinced myself I was gonna hate beforehand. Yeah. Because I know there are a couple of people on Twitter that are indie developers that made some of these, and that these are like better. They have a better story. They have better writing. Yeah. Carol mentioned Sibel last time, which probably sounds like something that would relate to a visual novel. Yeah. I think there's also a girl called Christine Love that made another one that's analog hate story that I have, and I need to start to play. But Daniel at the Dancing Panda loves it. So
I like the idea of sitting back and making decisions and stuff. I don't know if I would probably respond too much to a relationship dating style visual novel, but if there was some other type or genre of visual novel, it sounds like something I'd be really interested in.
And if there's other type, they're gonna end up being some kind of Zork type adventure. So
yeah, cool.
Zork.
What about you, Alex? What?
So glad you asked.
Usual games have you been playing?
Usual? What?
Oh, you said your games weren't unusual.
I might have said it's unusual that I played so many games. I played like 6 different games, including the one we'll talk about in the second half. I won't talk about that. Not even gonna name it. So John generously gifted me the game Jazzpunk on Steam, and it's a first-person quote-unquote detective game in which I don't know what other game to compare it to. Honestly, it's weird. It's really weird. You go around and you kind of solve I can't even. I'm so bad at explaining it. Gosh, just think of the absurdism of like the airplane movies and Top Secret in a video game. So you're a spy detective guy, and you're sent on missions. The first one, you're supposed to find the missing tape from some Russians. So you sneak into their building, find the tape. How do you find the tape? It's in an alternate dimension that you find by flipping a switch and then opening up a cereal box, blowing on a whistle to get the phone to dial a certain tone, and then eject the tape in that alternate dimension.
That's
there's you can play a mini game inside of a pizza box. Like you go up to a Pizza Hut box, click on it, and then you're inside of you're in a game set inside the pizza box.
Sounds very campy.
It's really trippy. Like you begin each mission by popping pills. Like you're at your boss's desk, and he says, "This is what your mission is," and then he'll fall over drunk, and then you pick up a bottle of pills, and it says mission starting in, pick up the bottle of pills, take one, and then it says mission starting in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then you're just there. So I'm pretty sure each mission is an acid trip. Like the last mission, no, not the last one. One of the missions you end by finding a robotic pig, roasting him to reveal an opening in a clam that is the exit to the Matrix, from the Matrix, pretty much.
What?
Yeah, it's really weird, but I enjoyed it. It's really absurdist. It's only a couple hours long, and you'll probably laugh along the way. Then I convinced myself to buy the Stanley Parable, which was on Steam sale.
Yeah.
And I heard a lot of good things about it. And I don't know if it's just because I waited so long or because I really like the Jazzpunk game. It's not as good as I thought it would be.
What don't you like about it?
Well, let me explain for anybody who may not know. You're, the player is, everything he does is being narrated by a narrator. And you wake up, or you start the game, there's nobody there, and you're told to go find your coworkers. And you can either follow exactly what the narrator says, or you can go your own way and he starts to harass you. I mean, I like the game. It just doesn't, it seems like there's not as much depth as I thought there would be, not as much stuff to do, because you can kind of wander off the path a little bit, and it's like it's kind of like a choose your own adventure. You can fall to your death and you'll start over, and you can choose a different path and get a little bit further. Like I quote unquote beat the game because I got the achievement for it, but there's other ways to finish it. There's other ways to restart it. Like each time you finish it, you restart and have to find another way to get through this office building. And there's just not a lot to do. There's just a lot of walking and listening to the narrator.
So it's a walking simulator.
Yeah. I mean, in a weird way, it reminds me a little bit of Portal minus all of the puzzles.
Right.
Did you play Thomas Was Alone?
No, I own it, but I have not played it.
Okay. Try that one next.
And
I think you'll like it more than you liked Stanley Parable.
Yeah, Stanley Parable is alright. I mean, I'm probably not explaining it very well. You just...
I mean, we've all heard about a lot about it, so...
It's been hyped so much, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, for the one person who hasn't heard of it. Next, I bought and played Dropsy, which is a point-and-click hug venture.
That looks super weird.
Hug venture.
It is, yeah, it's really weird. The premise is you're a clown whose mom died in a fire, and you have to find out what happened and clear a name by being nice to people around town. It's a point-and-click game in the vein of like 90s point-and-click games. It's I've heard people say it's kind of open-ended or open-world-ish. Because there's not really a narrative, there's no dialogue at all. It's all gibberish, and I can kind of see where they get that. Like, when you talk to somebody, they'll either say, no, I don't like you, or they'll say, this is what I need to help make me feel better. And they'll kind of give you a mission in these, word bubbles or picture bubbles. And there's a lot left to interpretation with what you're supposed to do. And I don't know, just the whole style of the game, like looks like a 90s game. Even the resolution.
So like Day of the Tentacle kind of stuff?
That's what I've heard it compared to, but I've never played that game. It looks like it's in 640 by 480, just stretched.
Okay.
It doesn't look like it's in 1920 by 1080, which is, I mean, it fits because the graphics look like 90s stuff, but it's just got this really unique charm that I enjoy. And if you like any point and click games from the 90s or want to support a cool indie developer, I'd say check it out. Is it
pretty straightforward? I mean, it's you just walk around helping people. It doesn't have some weird dark undertones like so many games do. No.
There's some dark undertones. Like if you go to sleep, it's like a dream nightmare world of his circus tent where the floor is like dripping blood.
Oh, okay.
And at the end there's this mouth in the ground. There's a couple of dark things, like you help a couple people grieve with the deaths of their loved ones, but for all the dark stuff there's a lot of happiness and a lot of joy.
That's good.
So yeah, in that respect, it reminds me a little bit of the movie Inside Out. Not story wise, not just like the way it balances the happy feelings and the sad feelings, the joy and the despair.
We can't talk about that movie for too long, or I'm going to start like sobbing because it was so adorable and heart wrenching.
It's a good thing this is a video games podcast.
Yes.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I played the Inside Out game. Just kidding.
Is there a game for that? Probably.
There is. It's Bubble Bobble. That's all it is.
What? That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
I want to play that.
It's not bad. It's just Bubble Bobble.
Well, it's
Play
not just
Bobble.
Bubble Bobble. That game is awesome. Bubble Bobble is great.
So it's
Okay.
Yeah.
that's the one with the dragons and the arrow and the
Yeah.
balls, right?
Yep.
Okay. Last game I played that isn't the game we're talking about is called You Have to Win the Game. And it's kind of like I Want to Be the Guy, except a little easier. And it was free to play on Steam. It looks exactly like a CGA game from the 1980s, down to the ghosting effects with the sprites and the slight curve with the monitor.
Okay.
Okay.
Like they emulate the
Cool.
curve of the monitor on the screen, and there's even like a light reflection on it. Like there's a overhead light, but there's not. It's just in the game. But it's just a simple platformer that's kind of challenging. Yeah, it reminds me of a game I played as a kid, so it's full of nostalgia. I mean, if you like old 1980s DOS platformers, you probably like it.
Cool.
It's more around like the style of Commander Keen.
No, it's like older, stylistically older than that.
Like Prince of Persia.
No, like
Mm.
Like VVVVVVV.
yeah, more like
That's a
more
good
like
one, yeah.
these.
Yeah.
But
Cool.
look up a game, like look up a trailer. It's pretty simplistic. It's like one step past stick figures
Oh, okay.
almost. Yeah.
Okay. It looks more like almost Lemmings or something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's definitely a platformer though.
It's more than VVVVV. It's there's more graphics in there.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Huh.
That's been a while since I played that one.
That's pretty cool. I like
Yeah.
I like the curve effect.
I know, it's so cool. I guess I also played Fallout New Vegas, but I've talked about that game before. But the only thing I'll say about that is those games of that nature, people use as like they'll say, "Oh man, I put like 3,000 hours into the game. It's so good." You know, that's kind of an overstatement. But contrast that with You Have to Win the Game, which is probably, you know, maybe pushing 3 hours. You know, maybe 2 or 1, and I get just as much enjoyment of games that you can probably replay over and over, but are, you know,
I
fun
love
play.
that personally. I have no time. I have no time ever. So when I can completely beat a game in a short amount of time, like the one that we're going to talk about later, I loved the fact that it was so short. The Undertale was relatively short, you know, considering it was like a full-scale RPG. And then Bioshock Infinite even was short. I mean, it was probably under 20 hours. And I just love that I can have these full experiences and feel satisfied and not have to put, 100 hours into a game.
Did you finish Undertale or?
Oh,
this
yeah.
time? Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it was amazing.
We don't need to get too far into a tangent, but I want to say, if it wasn't Bioshock Infinite, I heard a complaint levied against a game of similar nature that said, "Oh man, it's 15 hours. It's just way too short." I'm like, well, you know, you can beat Super Mario World in that amount of time or less, right? And you'll be hard pressed to find people that don't like that game.
You know, and when I hear that argument, I don't think these people are looking at a clock and saying that the game is too short. I think that sometimes what's happened is that the developers maybe drop the ball, because if you have a full, fun, enjoyable experience in 15 hours, then somebody's going to walk away from that and say, that was a great game. If it's maybe feels incomplete and it's 15 hours, then maybe I'll say, well, it was only 15 hours. I didn't feel like I got a full, true experience out of that. So it's all about what they choose to do with that time, not about the time that it takes.
Yeah, because Portal is like 6 hours, 8 hours.
Right.
And it feels like it's
nobody
just not
complains
enough.
on that. Yeah, exactly.
I'd kind of like to get that happy medium of like, it's not too short, but I'd like more rather than just let the game end, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a situation where DLC can be used effectively. I mean, DLC doesn't have to be this big scary thing that everybody hates. Like with Bioshock Infinite, the core game was on the shorter side, but it did feel complete. But if you want to go back and experience more, they have some really good DLC that you can get. So, and that adds so much more to it without, ruining the original.
We have a listener email that's been sitting in the queue for quite a while. I do apologize, Mr. Higgins.
Master Higgins.
But Master Higgins, I double apologize. We have an email from Jonathan Higgins entitled, if there's ever a Poochy Amiibo, I'm naming him Hallee, which is our John's last name.
Yay.
And I'll just say ahead of time, he says we're free to answer each other's questions. He's got questions for all of us, but he begins, "Hey, what's up? How do you feel about The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening? I just figured after you guys talked about Yoshi's Island," which tells you how long ago he sent it, "you should share your thoughts about my favorite game of all time so that I might once and for all decide my opinions of you three."
Link's Awakening is great. It's amazing. It's an amazing game. It's really, really, really fun. That's about it.
Chris?
It's the only Zelda game that I've ever beaten. I've only... So, I mean, that probably... I hope that, goes to show that it's very important to me. It's what defined my time with the Game Boy. So Link's Awakening and Pokemon are like my two go-to Game Boy games of all time.
And Link's Awakening is probably one of the funniest game I've ever played. Yeah. Which either tells you what good of a game it is, or how barely anyone else manages to be really funny in a video game.
I owned this game for about 2 days and had to return it because the battery was dead, and it made me sad.
Nice.
So I played a little bit of it on an emulator, and I liked what I enjoyed, but...
You liked what you enjoyed?
I really liked what I enjoyed.
Okay, cool. That's great.
Whoa, I liked what I played. Hey, shut up now. I enjoyed what I played.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. My goodness.
So you have to love us now, Jonathan Higgins.
Yeah. Mr. Hallee, since you hate Poochy so much, and everyone thinks you're a cat, your punishment is to name 3 dogs that you love, specifically from video games, and tell us why. I didn't phrase that like a question on purpose.
Cool. So I listed a huge list of dogs in games, and I'm gonna maybe cover a couple of them, just to make sure that I do answer his questions. So basically, Poochy, if you haven't played Yoshi's Island, Poochy just runs ahead of you, so you have no control over it. It's like the equivalent of a auto-scrolling stage, just worse. So it's like a auto-scrolling stage mixed with an escort mission. Ugh. If you're like Chris, you're gonna say it's a auto-scrolling stage mixed with an escort mission, mixed with an escort mission.
Ugh. Sounds horrible.
It's never underwater though. So basically, pretty much every dog you're gonna find in a video game is better than that. I just finished Final Fantasy VI, and Shadow, the guy named Shadow that you're gonna hear in the music break, probably has a dog named Interceptor that kind of blocks every attack and counterattacks on the enemies. He's super loyal. He manages to develop, I guess it's kind of the representation of the softer side of this ninja assassin guy. So I like him. There's a character in Breath of Fire series that's called Bo, which is I don't really like, but he's still better than Poochy. Pretty much every dog Pokemon you can find. Growlithe, Arcanine probably are some of my favorite Pokemon ever. Houndour, Houndoom, the legendary dogs. I've never played the game, but he's already cooler than that. Parapata Rapper. I mean, who doesn't love Parapata Rapper? Who doesn't? The Duck Hunt dog had a bad, reputation, but they shoved him in Super Smash Bros. U, so everyone likes him now. Link, when he turns into a wolf in Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. The other two other Final Fantasy games have Angelo, which is Rinoa's dog in Final Fantasy VIII. Don't really love him, but anyway, it's better than Poochy. Red 13 in Final Fantasy VII. There's a fighting dog in Kirby and the Amazing Mirror that you see once. The Nintendo dog are pretty much all better.
You like Nintendo dogs better than Poochy?
General Pepper in Star Fox, that if you remember, I think you see once in the game. He's probably better. But I'd say that the two other dogs that have way more personality, bring something to the story, and are, I guess, useful. Okami. Amaterasu. What's his name? What's her name? Sorry. Amaterasu.
I never said it out loud.
Amaterasu. Let's say it like that. So if you never played Okami, it's a game that looks absolutely fantastic. The dog is...
Notice he just said it looks fantastic.
It looks fantastic. No, it plays pretty good too. I like it. Anyways, that and Koromaru, which is a dog you find in Persona 3. Kind of one of the moments that made me cry, so hey, the dog's great. He fights off evil demons at night, and he doesn't just allow you to run over lava when he feels like it. So he's also better than Poochy. That's it. Alex, it's your turn.
Yeah, my question is, he asked, how do you feel about Dragon Masters? He linked to a picture of somebody I wasn't familiar with. Sorry. Then he says, what about enigmatic water synergy users with ulterior motives? Then he linked to a picture of somebody from Golden Sun, who I guess fits that description. You'd be surprised how often Alex is the name of legendary heroes or villains. When you play through RPGs, do you name characters after yourself and your friends, or do you stick to the default names? Yes is the question. Answer. Yes is the question to your answer. Answer to your question. I do both. Like Fallout New Vegas, I name myself Alex, but it has no impact in the game at all. Nobody ever says your name. I don't know why. I mean, maybe it'll say something like Alex was here, did this, but there's no gameplay impact I see. In the occasional RPG, I've been known to name myself Dr. Tim for no reason. It's just a name I came up with one day, so I was like, yeah, I'll use that.
It's after the Home Improvement guy, right? Sure.
But I like to think sometimes I'll roleplay and create a character like this Dr. Tim person, but the farthest I get is this name. I name my Link character in Twilight Princess Darrell, which I know it's not an RPG, but you get to name your character in that game. I just think it's funny when I imagine people walking up to the hero of time and saying, Darrell, you have the Master Sword? Darrell, did you do this? I don't know. I mean, a lot of times I just use my own name though, especially when it doesn't use my name or just the default name. Especially a lot of times it doesn't impact the story. There was one time in my life where I thought you have to name it the default because that makes the story the most canon. The characters calling Link or Tidus. That's the most canon in the story because if they call your character Alex, then it's not right.
Yeah.
So. I hope that answers your question.
The first image, the guy in the first image is Alex, which is the main protagonist from Lunar Silver Star on either the Sega CD or the PlayStation.
Yep, I haven't played it.
You should.
All right, Chris, you ready?
I think he is.
All right, Chris, if Yoshi's Island isn't a Mario game, is Flicky a Sonic game? Which video game version of Disney's Aladdin is your favorite? What is a healthy alternative to eating cheeseburgers in paradise?
Okay, so I'm a big fan of Mr. Higgins, but what I do have to point out is that Flicky is not a Sonic game. Sonic is actually a Flicky game, because Flicky predates Sonic by 6 years. So...
Yeah, but Yoshi's Island predates Mario.
No, Yoshi doesn't come before Mario. Flicky actually was a game in the arcades.
Mario's a baby in the game. How can it not come before Mario?
But which came first? The Yoshi or the egg?
It's the egg of Yoshi that came first.
No,
of course.
I like to imagine that Sonic, the entire Sonic franchise, is after Sonic 2, maybe Sonic Knuckles, then it's just a nightmare that Flicky is having while he's being chased by the cats.
Big the Cat?
Sonic Adventure is fine.
No, Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2 are great.
Sonic Generations is good, whatever Mr. Jason Lamb says.
Well, Sonic is just such a crapshoot. I mean, it's so hard. There's just no consistency, I guess. That's the thing. But yeah, Flicky is amazing. I wouldn't say Flicky is a Sonic game. I'd say they're in the same universe, but they're not. I wouldn't be able to say that it's a Sonic game. I would prefer to say that Sonic is a Flicky game. And which video game version of Disney's Aladdin is my favorite? Of course, I'm a little biased, and it's not because it's on Sega that I like it more. The Genesis version of Aladdin, you actually have a sword, and that's why I like it more. So the Super Nintendo version, you don't have a sword. And that's the big thing, is I want Aladdin with the sword taking out baddies. There is the big argument that it's just a better game, which is good. It's important for the Genesis to have those because the Super Nintendo came later. It was more powerful. There was more money behind it. So I get that, they were able to do more with the graphics and the games on that console. So it's good to see a game on the Genesis where everybody kind of universally, for the most part, says that Aladdin is better on the Genesis, because you don't have many of those.
I think it is better on the Genesis, yes. I only played the Super NES version, and I think I'm forced to admit that it's better on the Genesis.
See? We can all be friends.
No, I hate myself for that, so...
And what is a healthier alternative to eating cheeseburgers in paradise? Probably eating grain-fed, organic, non-GMO, gluten-free cheeseburgers in paradise?
But in paradise, like, instead of eating chicken, do you eat angel?
I would hope not. That sounds terrible.
Okay,
I guess that's not technically cannibalism, though.
I don't know.
Yeah, maybe you could eat, just regular hamburgers in your terrible one-bedroom apartment. That's the alternative. More realistic alternative. We can't all have cheeseburgers. Some of us just have regular, dry, terrible hamburgers.
But I mean, cheeseburgers have to be healthy in paradise. I mean,
Right.
Why wouldn't they?
It's paradise.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be paradise if I had to watch my weight and worry about calories. Well, that's all I have to say on that.
All right. Well, he signed it. Hallee, you're such a frog. The other John.
Can I say something about that?
What? That you're a frog?
No, actually, I mean, I really don't mind, personally, but, like, calling a French Canadian or a French person a frog is, I guess, the closest thing that you can get to a racist comment against French people.
I didn't even think about that until you said something.
Well, I didn't know that.
I mean, I'm really not insulted.
It's like the stereotypes in kids' movies.
Yeah, I did talk about it with Pierre Gauguin, and he confirmed that it dates back to a while, and it really is, like I said, the closest thing. I mean, in the end, like, nothing's gonna be really racist against French people because we're not too bad off in the grand scheme of things, like, to be honest. But that's pretty much the closest thing you can do.
Calling you out.
If I had any
Higgins.
ego, John, I would be insulted.
All right, so music break. That was A Fistful of Nickels, which is a remix of the song Shadow from Final Fantasy VI, and you can find a link to that in our show notes. Well, it's time to review a game. We set out to review one game, and then over the course of events, we kind of unanimously decided to review this unique indie game that we all stumbled upon called Emily is Away. And the description from Steam is as follows. Sign in again. Remember a time before Facebook and Skype when Windows XP was the next big thing and AIM was king? Relive that era with Emily is Away. Create a screen name and browse buddy infos in this chatbot meets adventure game. Explore your relationship with Emily, a fellow high school student, in a branching narrative where you choose the outcome, and most importantly, change your color text to lime green so people know you're the coolest kid in school. Developed by Kyle Seeley, released in 2015. So, what do you guys think about this game?
Alex stumbled upon the game, and I think not too long after we realized the game was going to be released on Steam.
Yeah, it was like...
Where'd you find it, Alex? Was it on itch? It was on itch.io, right?
It was on itch.io, and I looked on that site because you guys talked about it last episode. So... It's like the circle of life.
And it was covered like alongside with the game Carol talked about, Sibel.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
As being kind of around the same ideas.
Yeah, I haven't played that one she talked about, which I misspelled in the show notes last time.
Yeah.
I fixed it.
Thank you. This one stuck out because A, it was free, and B, it's the whole gameplay consists of an aim window.
Yeah.
Did you guys start to actually spell the words when you first started playing on the keyboard?
Initially. It was kind of fun because initially I did it, and then after a little while, I realized that it didn't matter how you typed, and so then I would just kind of type extremely fast and make myself feel like I could type way faster than I actually can.
Yeah. So the basic gameplay is, like I said, just the aim window. You have a conversation with your friend Emily through 5 different conversations over 5 years, from your senior year of high school to your senior year of college. And you can, when Emily asks you something or says something, you can respond one of 3 ways. And there's branching narratives, I guess. It says there is, but I always got the same outcome. And the way you enter in your response, you can either click on one or hit the number and then fake type it out. And something that I really liked was the sound design. When you turn on the game, it sounds like the Windows XP booting up.
Startup, yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
And you hear the hum of the computer and the monitor and the the click of the, I guess, would that be that little click that happens every once in a while? Is that the monitor?
Yeah.
Or the hard drive spinning? And then when you type, you actually hear like that old chunky
mechanical keyboard type.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool. The sound design is really cool.
Yeah.
And all the aim sound effects they squeeze in there, like the doors shutting randomly and stuff like that. So good.
Mm-hmm.
I was transported back to high school.
Me too, in more ways than one.
I didn't use... I use Windows Messenger, I think. ICQ was like at the beginning of high school.
Right. Yeah.
And then we fell into Windows Messenger. So, I mean, it kind of relates anyways, because we're, I think, about the same age, all 3 of us. Mm-hmm. So, most of our high school interaction with people were over chat and these kind of things. So that's why it relates so much. It's really the way we interacted, and it's really, once you leave high school and you moved on to other things, most people split ways, and the only way you had to keep in touch back then was on these messengers, and you could only talk back to people you used to talk to.
Right.
I'm gonna go ahead and say issue a spoiler warning because I want to have a no holds barred conversation.
Okay, cool. I like that.
You heard it first, folks. No holds barred.
So, if you want to join in on the conversation, pause the podcast, go play the game because it's pretty short, and then come back and hit play.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's free. Unless you're driving.
Don't do it.
Well, if you're driving, you don't have Steam on your machine.
Yet. That's coming with the next update.
Don't judge Tom Hall. He might.
Maybe he does. Does he drive?
I hope. Yeah, he has a car.
Yeah.
I've seen it. It's gold.
No, but you know how you don't imagine people you meet online doing stuff? There are people I hang out with online that I just can't make up the mental image of them driving, going to the grocery store and stuff like that. And especially the one, I'm sorry, I'm going off a tangent, but it's I talk a lot kind of to Bailey's wife. which name I will not mention, but I've never seen her. So it's like this entity that doesn't really exist.
She's a ghost that lives in your
Bailey,
computer.
so I know he talks, and it's not that weird to imagine him talking to like an inanimate object or like in the air. Like it's really not too bad to imagine that.
She's a phantasm.
But I think she exists. So anyways.
Speaking of, she does exist. I've met her. But speaking of inanimate objects, how'd your conversations with Emily go, guys? Like, did you guys ever get her to talk about your AIM icon?
No.
Chris?
No, she didn't talk about it, but I did, so at, early on she talks about, Coldplay and about how she loves Coldplay, and I'm like, no, that band is terrible. And, then later on, it lets you choose a new icon every year. And so one year, after having the conversation about how I hated Coldplay so much, then the next year, I actually went in and I made sure to choose a Coldplay icon on purpose.
Did she say anything?
No, she didn't pick up. Nothing was said, but to me, I kind of internalized it, and I had my own little, funny,
narrative
commentary with it. Yeah, so I like that kind of stuff.
The reason I played it probably 3 or 4 times trying to get a different outcome, and I never got a different outcome. It was always the path there was a little different every time, but the outcome was always the same.
Okay.
But year one, I don't remember which icon it was. I chose a couple different movies like Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter, and a couple times she'll say, like, if you choose one of those, she'll say, "Oh my gosh, I love that movie."
Oh, really?
Like, first thing.
Cool.
Yeah.
I always choose like the because I didn't really love the bands that were shown. Well, not really. I can say that. I'm not like a kind of band or music or movie groupie, so I really played it like, what if I had to choose the icons, and I ended up like choosing the cute animal icons, which brought up no conversation. But go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'll remember.
Okay, I'm just saying that every band she mentioned, like, I picked up music way after high school, but Coldplay was one of the first groups I got into. Snow Patrol was another group I really got into, and I loved that album. So it was kind of weird that she like shoved these groups in my face, and I'm like, yeah, I love these guys. Like, especially on the first year, because I think it's the what's the album called from Coldplay? It's the one with the scientist and
Yellow?
A couple of other great songs in there. I think it's I don't remember, but it's like my favorite Coldplay album.
I actually really like Coldplay. Yeah.
Is it A Rush of Blood to the Head? Is it that one?
A Rush of Blood to the Head. Yeah.
So, what I was gonna say, shoot, I completely forgot, John.
Oh, you said you would
No,
remember.
You promised you were going to remember.
I feel like guilty now.
It lets you put in your own AIM name.
Yeah.
And I put in my own AIM name from back in the day, so it was extra layer of person.
You're role playing at that point.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, I was role playing. There's an answer to your question, Master Higgins. I put my own screen name in. But for those who haven't played, the branching narrative is you trying to establish your feelings and talk about your feelings for your friend Emily while she makes terrible decisions with her life, or a terrible decision in dating a jerk. That's maybe oversimplifying it, but
I mean, we don't really know he's a jerk. That's kind of the way I played it. I mean, it's from text message on a screen, so I played it once, and I played it like the way I would interpret it, which is like, first of all, not guilting her into the relationship, just discussing about it. 2, it's text on the screen. I mean, people that interpret like tons of things from text on the screen. Right. I'm not gonna name anybody because you don't know my girlfriend's name anyways, but like, when you send text and people are super pissed, and it's just like, there was nothing behind that text, it's just a text.
Right. Well, there's that, and there's also a lot of baggage from off screen that we don't really know about. Like, the character you play as obviously knows the characters that Emily talks about, so there's probably a reason he says that dude's a jerk, or that or not. Whether he is or not, he may just feel that way because he likes Emily.
That's what I got. I got the jealousy option, or the other options.
And I really appreciated that there was so much that took place, outside of the game. It just kind of left you to your own devices to build your own story that complements the story that's presented in front of you.
Yeah, but there's too much. Like, one conversation a year I found was really not enough. I mean, it's good. Like, it should have been at least 2 or 3 conversation a year. I like the 5-year span because it's really like a huge 5-year in anyone's development in their years.
So much changes completely different in that amount of time.
Relationships like do break in these 5 years. It's probably the years that breaks the most relationships, as friendships and I mean everything that. It's really 5 important years, but I really would have loved to have more events happening.
I agree with that. Why don't you guys, starting with John, just give us a quick breakdown of the choices you made and like walk us through the story, see how our journeys compare.
Okay,
I played it a couple times.
Okay, I played it once, to be honest. Okay. I did start up to play another game, but I mean, I have a hard time in this particular game because at the end of high school and starting the next few years after that, I ended up hanging out with mostly girls. So, and there was some kind of pressure, I guess. And I don't want to bring out the nice guy trope because I hate that trope, but there was a huge pressure in, I'm not going to say society, but like people around us saying that you can't be friends like just platonically. If you're straight and she's straight, you can't be friends platonically with a girl. And from the conversations that you have in this game and dialogues, Emily felt like a friend, like right off the bat. And there was enough immersion in the game that I kind of didn't want to develop anything for it. So I guess I kind of didn't get into the roleplay of the game, but still like loved what kind of happened. And it ended up being that kind of, I guess the protagonist ended up being some guy that never had like the courage to mention his feeling for the girl. And like you guys know probably, and the same thing probably happens at the end. It's at the end of the 5-year, she gets back with her ex, which was a jerk we talked about, and you start
perceived
like
jerk.
Sorry,
I said the perceived jerk,
alleged jerk. So and you start like typing out just conversation topics. And the protagonist just types like his feelings for Emily and then deletes them and just changes the subject to how's the weather and stuff like that.
Yeah, it gets more and more harder to talk about stuff.
Yeah, and it really feels hard, and it's the kind of stuff that you do like when in chat windows, like you had when you send a tweet, you had time to think about what you wrote, and you came back on it and changed it so people wouldn't be offended. So like your feelings came across better and stuff like that. So it's kind of it really does that job good. But basically, I ended up trying to be like a friend to her the whole time, I guess. That's about it.
So I don't know if this is something that happened to everybody because I only played it the one time, and so I don't know how your decisions, obviously they impact the game. I mean, it seems like there are the branching narratives, but I don't know if, one small decision is going to make it go in a completely different direction. So did everybody invite her to school and hook up with her?
Yes. Yeah. And I did all 3 choices with that.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, because that happened to me, and I kind of went into it from the friendship path, kind of disinterested almost, and I guess that's kind of how I handled myself when I was in high school. I was like the quintessential like emo kid. I listened to all those bands. I had like X's in front of my usernames and stuff like that, and I had song lyrics in my bio and my profile. And nice. it was really like, when my wife and I started talking early college, I was even still using AIM in the same way. So it's weird how closely this hit home. But I was being very friendly. I wasn't trying to take a jealous route when she was talking about the other guy. I tried to not offer my opinion on it. I don't remember the exact choices, but it was like I didn't try to offer my opinion on it. I just tried to, be a very neutral person that she can kind of vent to, I guess, about the situation.
Yeah.
And then later on, it seemed like there was really no choice other than her coming to college, her coming to your dorm or whatever. And then towards the end, when, I guess she said that she got back with the guy, and did you guys start dating? Did you actually start dating the other girl, or did you not date the other girl?
I didn't.
Oh, I never dated her.
No, I didn't either. Cause it's like, well, is she a friend? Is she more than a friend? Is she whatever? And, I actually think I was trying to make Emily jealous, at one point. So I think I did date her. And then I later on, I said that it didn't work out. And so at the end of the game, I didn't get either the girl that I had dated temporarily or Emily. And then I kind of got like frustrated almost. So the way I ended the game, like I didn't continue the conversation up until it forced me to change the topic. I immediately changed the topic and I kind of shut her down, and I was not like rude about it, but I was just like, okay, I'm kind of done with this drama. And I guess it kind of makes sense in the evolution of where I would be developmentally at that stage too, because at that point I'm done with the high school drama, I'm done with like the early college drama, and I'm just trying to, move on and not deal with all of these tiny little, things. So I just like ended the conversation, and I was going to keep it polite, and then it just kind of the game ended. So it was weird. It ended and I felt unusual. I felt like I had actually experienced some of those feelings. It was a really well put together game, considering it was so short and I ran through all of those different emotions, because it mimicked a lot of my relationships in high school and college.
Right. So I think I played it the most time. Nothing to brag about.
You played it more than once.
I played it like 4 times.
Yeah.
Because I really wanted to get different outcomes, and I always got the same outcome. You can kind of see, I kind of saw the cracks begin to show when I chose different things and she would give the same response, the same kind of responses. So, the big choices are like the party, whether or not to go to the party. If you go to the party, she'll ask later in the game, why didn't you kiss me?
Yeah,
or
I got that.
If you don't go to the party, she'll ask, why didn't you go to the party? I always thought we had something together, something like that. Similar. Let's see. There's the trying to convince her to break up with her boyfriend in the second chapter, and then consoling her in the third one, where she says, hey, I have a good idea, let me visit, and you can either say, yeah, come and visit unconditionally. She'll say, you can come visit unconditionally, which you'll hook up with her. You can set boundaries, which she'll say something like, I wish we had expressed our feelings towards each other. You could just shut her down and say, don't come at all. And she'll say, I really needed somebody to talk to. So no matter what you do, whether she comes to visit you or not, you always do the wrong thing, as far as I experienced. It's like, she'll always complain about what you did. Like, she'll always say, I feel weird. Like there's something weird between us. Like, I wish we could have talked. I needed somebody to talk to after my breakup. Or I wish we hadn't slept together. I needed to, I wasn't ready. Or I wish we had, because I was really vulnerable. And it's just like, I couldn't find the one, like, I couldn't find a way to make her happy. And yeah, she'll actually, if you don't go to the party, she'll date another dude, but it'll be the same type of outcomes. It won't, I don't remember the guys' names. It won't be like, it's like Brad and something else. Tim, maybe.
If you, like, from what I understood, there's a couple of, there are big decisions. Like you mentioned, I think you mentioned them all. There are a couple of ones, like, where it ends up saying Emily will remember that, which is the same thing I think people mention in The Walking Dead game. And that doesn't affect anything in my experience.
Mine either.
It could be subconscious, though. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to affect the game, but that could be just something that it's like, Emily will remember that, and so then you, in your internal narrative, have that, okay, so maybe I made a mistake.
I would completely agree with that if it wasn't for the fact that he used the exact same formulation that they use in The Walking Dead.
That's true. Okay, the Telltale games.
Where there is an outcome to these decisions. If it wasn't like exactly the same words, I would agree that it could like give some kind of feedback to your subconscious, which, to be honest, could have worked with other people on the AIM chat. Like, if you would have had like feedback and backstory, I would have seen like automated conversation with other people to like give more meat around the actual interaction with Emily.
Yeah. So I definitely enjoyed it. I wanted more. I think it would, like, this mechanic would probably work better in a bigger game, like where this isn't the only mechanic, or, like something to break up the chat times, or a way to get to know a virtual person better than just 5 conversations. But as for a recommendation, I'd say try it.
I'm not sure I agree with you on that, because, like I said, I wanted more conversation and more events around it, but the fact that it's only in the chat windows kind of helps with the immersion. There's nothing that breaks the immersion of I'm talking to that person online, because that's all you do. I mean, if you go around and you would have tried to like emulate some kind of college campus from those years, that would have broken character, because that's not something like I personally lived. But chat windows being so restricted in the environment that you actually see, it kind of reaches out to more people, I guess.
Well, the example I thought of, there was a horror movie, and I don't remember the name of it, but it was the entire thing was set on a computer desktop. It's probably a terrible movie, but it had an interesting concept. But it'd be kind of interesting if you could just like, you know, talk with her and, you know, then talk with another friend for a little while, and you're restricted to your desktop. I don't know. I just wanted more to do, you know, and more in depth. So would you recommend it then, John?
I would say, like, I mean, it's not that long. Trying it's pretty much finishing it. So dive in. It's probably the best visual novel I played this week.
Backhanded compliment.
And to be honest, I mean, just dive in, experience it. If it's I mean, if you're around like 25 to 30, you know these feelings, like you know this interaction. It's like there's a limitation, I guess, that you're always going to be the same person interacting with the same person. So that kind of limits the I guess how many people it reaches, but
Chris?
Yeah, so I was thinking the same thing. So it's definitely a niche game, so it's only going to really work for those in our like immediate demographic. Otherwise, I mean, if you're of the generation where smartphones and Skype and, you know, Snapchat and stuff were your like day-to-day, you know, communication methods, then this really won't connect at all. But I think when people like us play it, this is exactly what we experienced when we were, you know, younger and going through high school and college. So in that sense, it's spot on. Kyle Seeley, great job. You knew, you perfectly captured, a period of time for a lot of people. And it's very true to what actually happened. I don't want any more and I don't want any less. I don't think I need more game. I don't want more interactions. I don't want more, you know, dialogue trees or anything like that, because this game exists like 50% in the computer and 50% in my head, in my internal narrative. It's not like I'm looking at a map and searching for a treasure or anything like that and just playing a game. This game is like in my head, and I'm coming up with my own background stories for all these characters. I'm trying to pick out the icons that I think will best represent, you know, my unknown protagonist. So it's really cool in that regard. I really liked it. It doesn't appear, at this point at least, to have much replayability. As Alex said, he's played it a couple times and wasn't really able to get considerably different endings, and that's fine. I mean, it doesn't necessarily need that. It can still stand on its own. But I would say that everybody in this kind of age range should totally dive in, because it's going to remind you of high school, and for better or worse, those are memories that everybody is going to have, and it's interesting to kind of go and relive those through a video game like this.
All right. Well, that'll wrap things up, folks. I labeled this last block Thanksgiving gaming regrets, and I forgot that John is Canadian.
They have Canadian Thanksgiving?
Yeah, we do. We actually have Red Thursday coming up. Okay.
Well,
so
my thought was, what between when we record and when we air, what do you think you'll do gaming wise that you might regret? Whether you play a game, buy a game.
You mean apart from Red Thursday?
Yeah,
what is Red Thursday?
Red Thursday is the Canadian Tire Black Friday.
So, do you think you might buy a game you regret, like on a Steam sale?
Like buy a game in Canadian Tire? Come on, no. If you haven't heard, I did dabble in the Steam trading card market, which has made me richer by $1.40 Canadian.
So,
which
like,
is probably good enough.
Like
I'm waiting for
US?
a Steam sale, and I'm gonna pick up all these awful 27-cent game. You can be sure about that, except Bad Rats, because I know Bad Rats is bad. I might pick up Bad Rats. I'm gonna regret picking up Bad Rats.
Chris?
So gaming regrets. I'm gonna be traveling a lot over the next couple days and for the whole Thanksgiving holiday. And so my biggest regret will be playing too much Hearthstone on my phone while my wife is driving, my phone dying, my charger not working, and us not being able to find the hotel because I can't use navigation.
I think my biggest regret will be my brother finally convincing me to get a modern gaming console. Yeah, we'll see if that happens.
I think we might need a PS4 so we can play all these indies that keep popping up.
No,
I know, right?
You have a Wii U. It's okay. You got a Wii U. It's a modern day console. Where's your brother? Let me talk to him.
He's downstairs. You can follow him on Twitter if you want. I'll tweet his hashtag, his name.
Tweet his hashtag. Yeah.
I'll tweet his hashtag at you.
I mean, if you follow him, you'll like what you enjoy.
I'm never gonna live that down. So, if you want to email us like Master Higgins did, you can email rocketpantspodcast@gmail.com. Our website is rocket-pants.com. Twitter is @rocketpantscast, and I'm @chronoslinger. John is at
Big Jonathan 91.
Yeah, that's right. Chris is at Chris A. Swartz. And we are now on Skirmish Frogs, if you guys have heard of them. I hope most of you have. And for the two of you who haven't, check them out. They're a retro gaming site started by Mr. Eric Bailey and got some good content, I hear. So, this is Team Rocket Pants blasting off.
Since the splitting of the atom only a few decades ago, and through his God-given genius of science, man, at last, has succeeded in penetrating further and further into the unknown vastness of space.
Just glaze it up like a donut.
I'm just gonna Audacity and chill this one up.